I just finished watching Good Time, which is like a Robert Pattinson movie. Robert Pattinson's like my favorite actor ever after He Who Shall Not Be Named. It was quite sad. It's put me in a somber mood. And then I was planning to like film after I finished watching that movie this morning. Just so pensive right now. Good Time is a really good movie. We're back again. It's the start of a new year, so that means it's a new vinyl tag. This one is created, oh my god, I should know that going into this. That is so frustrating. The 20 set of questions are from Rob Walker, and I'll leave a link to his channel down below. Let's get into it. So first, starting off strong with a question that I don't have records for. It's my favorite albums from 2020, like my favorite releases. All my favorite releases I don't have on record currently, which is unfortunate, but my favorite record by far was Crash. Dominated my year, especially early in the year. I really think with Crash, she's gone back to just like the pop roots, like just pure pop. And then the other record, which I guess is a mixtape, it's not a record, that I loved was Capri Songs by FKA Twigs. I love this record so much. It came out in January, early January, if not late December. Tears in the Club is my favorite song on the record, but also Meta Angel is so beautiful. And also the other two records I would say are Renaissance by Beyonce. I think it's an amazing electronic record from Beyonce, and I'm just so glad she's back because I have not enjoyed her last few records before Renaissance, but Renaissance is just like returning to the Beyonce that I love. And of course, a more later release in the year that I loved was In the Darkness, Hearts Aglow, which is by Ways Blood. And Ways Blood, I loved the last record, Titanic Rising by her, but this record I think I love even more. This record just, it's just like ethereal, heavenly. It's just, this record's so good. I could probably skip Renaissance, but the other three albums I really want on record, but like all these records would probably be like 60 AUD each, and I do want to support my artists, so yeah, I feel like I shouldn't let a 60 AUD price tag deter me because I'm supporting the artist, but it does deter me because I don't want to give that much money to a record because then I'm supporting the rising record prices. Ugh. Next, the second prompt is the last band or solo artist you saw live, and that would be IDLES. I actually also picked up these two records this year as well, Brutalism, which is their debut, and Joy is an Act of Resistance, which is their sophomore record in their discography. I love both these records so much, but I probably like their debut a little bit more. To be honest, I actually like their debut a lot more. Their first album was the best. For this, I'm actually going to say a record where I have not listened to the rest of the discography yet. But I know that this is their best album. It sounds ridiculous. How can you say it's their best album if you haven't listened to the rest of their albums? Whatever, it's my channel, my rules. I feel like this is mostly because I want to show records that I purchased this year. Like mostly. I'm going to show some other records as well, but this is another record I got this year, which is Dummy, Portishead. It's also an album that I have reacted to over on my reactions channel, so this record is very 2023 for me. This is like very significant in my 2022 listening journey. I discovered this record this year, really. And I will want to listen to their other records in their discography, but I just know this is going to be their best. Nextly, A Hat Trick showed the vinyl, CD, and cassette of an album. I do own a couple of cassettes, but not enough for this prompt to work. I own like Erotica by Madonna on cassette, but what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to show a album where I own the CD and then two records, like two copies of the same record. I have 3 sets of ABBA compilations. We all know that I've got these two copies of the best of ABBA, but I've also got ABBA Gold on CD, and ABBA Gold kicks ass. This album is so battered up because it is probably as old as me. It's just got all my favorites because this is sort of the ABBA I grew up on. Like this was how I got my ABBA fix growing up, and songs like Money, 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 so good, and Take a Chance on Me. All my favorite ABBA tracks are on this album. And I got 2 best of ABBAs as well. That's a hat trick. Album that starts and ends with the same letter. I definitely read too much into this prompt. I thought it meant the track listing for some reason. I don't know why I thought that. And I went with Kinda Blue, which doesn't even work with the actual meaning of the prompt because the first track on this album is So What, which starts with an S, and then the last track on this album is Flamenco Stretches, Flamenco Sketches. And I was like, okay, cool, this album starts with an S, ends with an S. But no, I watched some of people's vinyl tags and it actually means the album title starts and ends with the same letter. So for once, Miles Davis is irrelevant. And I'm gonna go with my favorite every time. Songs and Instrumentals by Adrian Lenker, starts with an S, ends with an S, which, you know, is the classic. I'll keep banging it over your head every day of the week. Every vinyl video I put out, I will try to put this in somewhere just because I love this album. If there's one thing you need to know about my music taste, it's that this suits it. And Adrienne Lenker brought out an album this past year in 2022, so she's relevant. An album with Big Thief, which is like her band, where she is the main singer in it, and I think she's a singer-songwriter as well in that band. But yeah, this is her solo stuff that I love. Someone born the same year as you. So I was born in 1996, and I don't have a record that has an artist that was also born in 1996. But I do have a record with an artist that was born in 1995 in February, and I was born in November. So this guy was only born 3 months after I was born. So we're pretty much the same age. We're like twins, which I didn't even realize until I looked into this prompt, and I was like, oh, he's so young. And that is Denzel. Bulls on Parade, one of my favorite covers of all time. He does the Rage Against the Machine song Justice. Bulls on Parade, the Rage Against the Machine song is on the album Evil Empire, which also came out in 1996. So there you go. Even if I can't find an artist that was born in the exact same year as me, I found an artist that was born 3 months later covering a song that is from the same year as me. Most listened to album in 2022 within my record collection, it is Hatful of Hollow. I think like if you know you like something, stick to it. I love this album. I was in a big Smiths mood this past year. I'll talk about them again soon in another prompt, so I'm just gonna leave it there. My most listened to artist in 2022 is going to be Licky Lee. People told me I was saying Licky Lee wrong, it's Licky Lee, but Licky Lee, when I did my Spotify Wrapped, she was my most listened to artist in Spotify. I love her a lot. She's so sad and somber like I am. If I look at my record collection and probably also my Spotify combined, then it would be Idols, just because I got both these records in the past year. Really excited about my new records that I collect because I don't get a new record every day of the week. It's pretty rare for me to pick up new records. Having 2 new Idols records in the spin rotation is exciting for me. Listen to them a lot leading up to seeing them live as well, and I saw them live, so yeah, lots of Idol listening this year. An Australian band or artist, love this prompt because I am Australian and I do have a healthy amount of Australian music in my collection. I'm gonna just pick one that has excited me this past year, and that'll be Down the Farm by Cosmic Psychos. This is an album I got off my auntie. This record's from 1985, I believe, and I haven't actually listened to this album yet, but I did give it a little bit of a spin when I did my recent colored vinyl collection video. I was never interested in this record, but because it's on brown wax, I threw it on, and I actually loved the sound of it. For some reason, I just looked at this record and I was like, it's not gonna be my thing. But then when I actually listened to a little bit of it, I was like, oh, it's actually got a bit of a punk vibe, which I love punk music. I'm growing to love punk music at least. For some reason, I thought this would just be more like Australian standard rock, which really isn't my vibe. I find it a bit boring. A record people would be surprised you purchased in 2022. So for this one, I'm just gonna go with the record that I haven't shown yet on camera that I got for Christmas from my dad. So you're obviously gonna be surprised I got this because you don't know I got this. I haven't told anyone yet. And that would be David Bowie's The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, but just call it Ziggy Stardust for short. This is a highly critically acclaimed album. This sits in most people's like favorite albums of all time, best albums of all time lists. I'm really excited to finally own it and to finally listen to it because I've actually never listened to this. Believe it or not. I know you may think I'm lying, but I'm not. There's no point in me lying. What am I gaining from lying about this? I have heard the big tracks off this album, like a lot, obviously. I've heard Starman so many times in my life, and I think I've heard Moon Age Daydream as well, but I don't think I've heard any of the other songs on this album. My family dog growing up, his name was Ziggy, named after Ziggy Stardust, so this album already means a lot to me because it reminds me of my pet dog from when I was younger, and I miss him so much. So it's just so nice to have a little bit of like a Ziggy Stardust moment in my room now, and a photo of me and Ziggy, my dog, sits on top of my record collection. So now I also have the record that he was named after, which is really cute. An artist or band you're complete on. I'm not going to get, should I get all the records out? It'd be funny. Maybe I should get all the records out. I'm complete on my Smiths collection. Got all their studios, got all the compilations and live albums that I want. All here. Thanks to Victor, who sent me Louder Than Bombs, which was the last Smiths record that I needed. I now have all the Smiths records I could ever want from my auntie and from Victor. Next is a great run of 3 albums. For this, I'm going to go, you can see what I'm going with, maybe like a run that not everybody would agree with, but I love The Cure, so I'm just doing it. I think it starts with A Head on the my God, I'm so sorry, Bonsai. I think it begins with A Head on the Door, which this is one of my favorite Cure albums. If you're a big Cure fan, you will like this album. I think this came out in 1985. And then after that, which maybe is the one I need to defend the most, it's Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, which is also one of my favorite Cure albums, but maybe not everybody's. This came out in 1987. Everyone loves the song Just Like Heaven, but this song I really love is How Beautiful You Are. That song is so underrated. I love that song. It's one of my favorite songs by The Cure. It is one of the songs that like got me to fall in love with The Cure, really. And then of course you end off the trio with one of my favorite albums of all time, which is Disintegration. I've talked about this album plenty through many other videos, so I don't need to talk about this one as much, but I love the song Love Song. I love the song Pictures of You. This album is the best. And that one came out in 1989, so there's a run of 3 albums that I love. 80s soundtrack. I actually have one. My Neighbor Totoro soundtrack, which I believe came out in 1988, and it's not one of my favorites, but I am very happy to have this because it is a bit of a staple in the Joe Hisashi Miyazaki Studio Ghibli world. I'm not particularly a big My Neighbor Totoro fan. I sort of have that mindset of like, this is made for little kids and I'm too old for this when I'm watching it. We lost them in 2022. I don't have a record for this one. This is the other prompt I don't have a record for. I did not have any records from any artists that sadly would have passed away in this past year. I would say the only record that I potentially do want would be the Grease soundtrack, which obviously has Olivia Newton-John on it, an Australian icon, one of my favorite musicals of all time, since I was like 6-7 years old, which I should not have been watching that movie at 6 or 7 years old, but I was. A disappointing purchase in 2022. I definitely have a pick for this one. I was really disappointed by this record. It's the first record I bought in 2022. This is Romero Turn It On, which is more Australian music, and honestly, I don't know, I liked it and I liked the singles and I was into it, but I don't know, I saw them live and I think that the venue wasn't great and it sort of threw me off, and my ears haven't healed since. A non-vinyl purchase, CD, book, etc. This is great because I also collect CDs and I collect books. How exciting. First, for Christmas, my sister got me Touching from a Distance, Ian Curtis and Joy Division by Deborah Curtis. I believe this was written by Ian's widow. I think they were married. Loved the movie Control. I watched that when I was like a teen, and that movie centers around Ian Curtis, who was the frontman of Joy Division before he passed away from suicide, unfortunately. I'm really happy we got what we got before he passed away. Love Joy Division. I love their music so much, and I'm really excited to give this a read because it is on the shorter side. And then a CD I got in 2022. I think I got in 2022 is the Black and White album by The Hives. This is one of my favorite albums of all time. I reckon when it came out in 2007, so I would have been like 11 years old. Yeah, so between the ages of 11 to 13 when this record came out, I was obsessed with it. I found The Hives through my dad because my dad really likes The Hives as well. They're super fun, really upbeat. They are like garage rock, but I would say at this point they're sort of getting into more just like a poppy generic sort of style, but their early stuff is pretty like garage heavy and really fun. But I still really like this record for nostalgia mostly, so yeah. You found a grail. Yeah, I would say I found a grail. I didn't find it, Victor found it. But this is definitely a grail. Louder Than Bombs, really excited to own this just because it was the final Smiths record that I needed to finish off my Smiths collection. So yeah, of course this counts as a grail. It is a first pressing US edition, I believe. Wanting Louder Than Bombs on record for years. So really happy to finally have that. A space-themed album, sleeve or song. Easy, dude. I got this record this past year. We have a space-themed cover right here. It is Electric Light Orchestra Out of the Blue. I have not listened to this yet, but a few people have now told me since I showed it in my record collection update this year that I should give it a spin. I know like the one big single off this record, which is why I picked it up, just because I saw it for cheap and I reckon that I was going to like the rest of it just because I liked the sound of the one song I've heard from it so far. But yeah, this is a space-themed album cover. I love this album cover so much. It's beautiful. And I honestly love the wear and tear on it. I think it just adds into the character. Show some VCLT or a present. I honestly get majority of my records as presents, and I've got to pick Ego here by Tyler the Creator. Just so blown away when I opened this up. My sister got me this for my birthday this year, so about 2 months ago now. This album has grown on me a lot since I first listened to it as well. I still think Flower Boy and Goblin and Call Me When You Get Lost are my favorite Tyler the Creator records, but I can appreciate what this album has done for his career. And then finally, show an album released in 1973. Why 1973? I'm not sure. 1973, I only own one record from 1973, and that is a record that I got off my dad's recommendation. So let's all bow down to my father, because without him I would be completely lost in my record collection. I don't know if I would be able to answer half these questions really. And that album would be Tubular Bells by Mike Oldfield, which sits in my soundtrack section of my record collection because it does have the original theme from The Exorcist. So yeah, that's all I really know about this record at this point. I know that my dad likes it. I know it has that theme song. I haven't listened to this thing yet. There's always a few that I haven't really listened to yet. Yeah, 1973. Thank you, Dad. That is my Vinyl Tag 2023. I hope you've enjoyed. What were your favorite records from 2022? Did you like Crash by Charli XCX? I did. And I will see you soon with my next video. Bye.